Okay, welcome sa part 2 ng ating Clean Coding Architecture video series, and sa video na ito ay ipapakita ko sa inyo paano bubuuin yung domain layer ng project natin. Sa mga hindi pa nakapanood ng part 1, I highly suggest that you watch it first para magkaroon kayo ng overview or ng idea kung ano yung ginagawa natin dito. But for now, let's focus on how we can build the domain layer of our project. For our demo, ang gagawin natin is gagawa tayo ng gagayahin natin si Lazada. So this will be an online purchasing application, no? Ang una natin gustong gawin is to create the representation of our database, no? Or our database table. Those representations of the database table, we call it entity. So what I'm going to do is add a new folder here under the domain layer and name it entities. Di ako pwede magkamali dito. Anyway, each representation of data is a class in our project. So the first representation that we're going to do is the inventory of our product. So we call it an item class or an item entity. This class will be declared, should be declared as public. Now, of course, if we're talking about database, it needs to have a field or certain fields sa database natin. And we declare those fields as a property dito sa class na to. So, what we're going to do is type prop. And there is a code snippet here sa Visual Studio na papadaliin ng buhay natin. Just click or just press tab after this and may papakita na niya yung property template na gagawin natin. So, the first field na gagawin natin dito is the ID. Of course, each table needs to have a primary key and we usually represent it as an ID field. Now, I will add the rest of the properties here. The first one is an item name. Then, item description. Price of the item. So this will create the first entity that we're going to use. Now I'm going to create the rest of the database representation or database representation natin. I will cut and share and be back in a while. Okay, na-add ko na lahat ng mga entities natin and i-explain ko lang sa inyo ano yung mga entity na to, no? So, after the item, we have the customer data. Of course, we need to have a customer para makabili. Basic information lang, like first name, last name, contact number, saka yung address kung saan i-deliver yung item niya. And then, we have here the purchase order. No? So, ito yung pinaka-header nung resibo natin, ng purchase natin. Usually, sa isang purchase, possible na magkaroon ng multiple items sa loob ng isang purchase natin. So, of course, we also have the order item here na merong reference dun sa purchase order natin. Of course, yung order item natin has reference dun sa item na to. And then, although may selling price na sa item, I still added the unit price here para if in case na nagkaroon ng presyo or ng price changes dun sa item, it will not affect yung kung ano yung price niya at the time na binili yung particular na item na yon. And then sa purchase order, meron din tayong reference sa kung sino yung customer natin. So this is how I usually build it. Very simple lang ito. I could add more kung may makita tayo na kailangan nating fields dun sa project natin later on. But for now, what I'm going to do is, kung makapansin mo yung mga entities na meron tayo dito, meron silang mga common fields dito. Of course, yung ID. No? And as much as I want to code, I don't want to repeat everything ng paunti-unti. No? So if we have or we see common fields like this or items like this, we want to minimize it. So ang gagawin ko is I will create what we call a base class. No? We will call it a base entity. So this base class will be represented by all of these entities that we have. So, ang gagawin natin is i-declare natin siya as a public abstract class. So, anong ibig sabihin ng abstract class, no? Abstract classes are classes that cannot be declared as an object. Bale, ang pinaka-purpose lang talaga niya is maging base, no? Maging base lang siya ng mga class na gagamit nitong abstract class na to. So, hindi siya pwedeng i-declare as a new object. Instead, actually, hindi siya pwedeng gamitin directly. So, ang gagawin lang natin dito is i-inherit lang siya nitong mga entities na ito. So, gagawin natin is, yun nga, declare na natin siya as an abstract class, and we will copy this particular field sa base entity na to. So, and then, I will copy this and inherit this on each entity that we have. So, nung nakita nyo, nung ginawa ko itong colon, base entity, nagkaroon na bigla ng warning dito kasi existing na yung ID dun sa base entity natin. Ibig sabihin, pwede na natin itong tanggalin. So, if meron tayong mga ganito na paulit-ulit na item, it might be a good idea to have a base class like this. Kasi, at least hindi na natin kailangang ulit-ulitin yung ginagawa natin. We have the base entity again here, we have it here again, and we can remove the item. So, much simpler yung code natin, nabawasan ng at least one line yung code natin. But, we may find something else that we can do with the base class later, but I just want to show na pwede natin gawin yun para mapaiksi yung pagko-code natin. Okay, another change na gagawin ko is to add the relationship between these items. No? Yes, I do have the references dito, like yung mga customer ID, but to make it easier to navigate dun sa mga references nila, we need to add other properties here. Like for example, we have the customer ID here. We need to have a property that represents or that navigates to our customer itself. No? So we will call it customer. So dito, if we have let's say receipt 001, we can easily call it using purchase order dot customer. So ganun lang siyang kadali para ma-access natin yung mga fields na meron for that customer, like yung first name, last name, and contact number. Same goes with the order items natin, no? Yung order items natin, marami yan. Marami siyang relationship between the purchase order and the order item. So we want to have an enumerable, actually maybe a collection class, so I collection of order item, and we will call it order items. This is what we call a generics, no? Medyo mahaba yung topic about generics, so we can create a separate video for that, but that's how we're going to do the navigation properties of the object. And then now we will go with the order items. Then syempre from here we may want to have a navigation property for the purchase order. So kailangan natin magkaroon ng navigation property para sa purchase order. We will call it purchase order. So yeah. I won't add yung mga navigation properties ng items at ng customer data. I don't know yet kung kailangan natin, but we can easily add it later on. No? And then the next thing na gagawin natin is to create the blueprint for our data access. And for this project, we will be doing the repository pattern. No? We will have a separate discussion on what is the repository pattern, but it was pretty popular for the data access itself. No? So what I'm going to do is, let's close all of this first. and I will add a new folder for our repository. Blueprint lang yung gagawin natin. So what I'm going to do is we're going to add a new item. We will select an interface and call it iRepository. So we will be creating an interface instead of a class. We will have a separate discussion on what interfaces was because this is actually a very long topic. But what it does is it creates some sort of contract kung ano yung mga magiging laman ng isang class, no? So basically, interface cannot stand alone without a class, but this will be very important for our dependency injection. No? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to declare lahat ng mga laman na magiging class for our repository, and this is actually a generic repository, and we will be used for all of the repositories na gagawin natin. Similar with the base entity na ginawa natin kanina. So, ang unang gagawin natin is we will add a line here and use a void command with actually, gawa natin siya ng generics. No? So, say iRepository where T is a class. And then let's add a void here which will accept a value of t. T is a type, by the way, of a class, no? So it can accept any of these entities that we have right now, but we'll call it data. So basically, we're declaring that yung class natin ay magkakaroon ng isang function called add, and it will accept any class which should be similar with what we have for the repository itself. Again, this will be our generic repository, so i-inherit to later ng ibang repositories na gagawin natin. So we will have add, and then we will also have remove, similar with and then maybe we will have void update, will also accept the data, and then we will declare another method that will get a data by its ID. Then we will have an enumerable collection of t, not get all but list all. Now this will be the contract for our repositories. Maybe I can do a quick demo on how this should be used dito, pero buburahin din natin agad na. So gagawin natin, we will add a new class here. Let's say it will be the item repository class. Item repository, and it will inherit the iRepository. Gawa natin siyang generic na item. So this means that this is the repository for the item. There we go. Now, since we have this iRepository contract, it means that kaya nagkakaroon ng pula dito ngayon is because we don't have any implementation or any logic behind the repository. This is the good thing about having an interface, no? Kasi it forces, when you're inheriting from an interface, the class is now forced to have these methods para lang magamit mo tong repository to. So what we're going to do is we're going to click this one, that light bulb, and click this implement interface here. Meron ding another error pa dito because hindi natin i-clear. Hindi tayo nagkaroon ng using for our entities, which is on a separate namespace and a folder. Kaya tayo nagkakaroon ng error kanina. So yan, this will force to have these methods dito sa class na to. And the only thing left to do here is do create a logic. So, hindi tayo maglalagay ng logic right now. Again, buburahin kasi natin to. And it also depends dun sa data access implementation na gagawin natin, whether it's going to be entity framework or we're going to use Dapper. We will decide that later on. But yes, that's basically how you do interfaces, no? So I'm going to delete this one. And I will create the repository for the remaining of these entities. I will be right back. So, nagawa ko na lahat ng interfaces natin for our repository. But I just want to explain bakit kailangan natin gawin to. Bakit kailangan natin mag-create ng multiple repositories for each entity. But as you can see, blanco naman yung laman. So, bakit kailangan pa natin gawin to? First of all, we still need to create one because each entity is unique, and as you can see, we're using generics sa repository natin. Dito, we declare it as a generic class, but we need to know which class are they using. So we need to create a separate repository for each entity that we have. Another good thing about this is, let's say for example, for the purchase order history, we need to have a separate method for, let's say, calling or getting all of the purchase orders based on the customer ID, no? So we can do that here dito sa iPurchase order history. So ang gagawin natin is we can declare an enumerable purchase order, which will get orders per customer. Let's say for example that, and we will provide the customer ID here. We can do that on this repository, and it will be different to other it will only be available dito sa purchase order repository natin and not on the other repositories as well, no? So that's one reason bakit kailangan natin gawin to. So let's move on and create the unit of work naman. So if you're familiar with the repository pattern, you know that you will be needing to create a unit of work for this. I'm not sure if we need to create a folder, but yes, I think we still need to, just in case that we will be creating multiple unit of works. So I will call it a unit of work. And in here, dito natin ilalagay or dito natin ipuput together lahat ng mga repositories na ginawa natin. So, I will declare an item repository. And dito, hindi na ako nag-declare ng full property because kailangan lang naman natin is read-only na property. We can also have a shortcut for that. That is, I think, prop A. Prop A. No, I think prop. Yeah, prop G. Yeah, we can do that. But this is an interface, so we can't have a public declaration in there. Kaya ating gawin is I order repository. gagawin lang natin is i-declare lahat ng mga repository dito as property. I customer data. Customer repository. And then, since we're talking about database and transactions, we don't want to declare the save function sa repositories. Gusto natin gawin yan sa unit of work. So, we will have a void save changes. Dito. Okay. I think I have I need to change something, no? Kasi I declare all of the tasks as void, but I want to have asynchronous methods dito sa project natin, so I will declare it as task instead of void. Same goes dun sa iRepository. So we will have a task here, task T, then a task of item here variable T. So this will indicate that these are asynchronous tasks or asynchronous methods. This will greatly help if we're using APIs. No? Asynchronous methods is kind of the modern way to do things now. No? Okay, I think this is everything that we need for our domain layer for now. Again, this is not yet final. We may see other things that we may need to add dito sa sa domain natin, but at least we were able to build the initial structure ng domain layer. So thank you for watching this video, and I hope that it kind of helps you out a little bit or gave you an idea on how to build the domain layer of the clean coding architecture. I will proceed with the application layer on our next video. So I hope that tumutok lang kayo dito sa video series na to. And mag-subscribe kayo if you want to have or to receive updates from our video series or for our video series. Again, this is Rockstar and thank you for watching. Bye-bye.